playing the stock market, selecting a college major, choosing a job. In all of these situations, knowing the future would be immensely beneficial. Actually, knowing the future would be immensely beneficial in pretty much every situation, except perhaps me as a surprise birthday party. And so today, I'm going to teach you how to do just that. I'm going to talk to you about how to predict the future without a crystal ball. Now, this is a pretty wild proposition. So, I want to assure you first that it is possible. Now, it's possible to predict the future because the world is a pretty sequential and logical place. Events just aren't capricious happenings. They tend to make sense. What happened yesterday affects today. What happens today affects tomorrow. So, assuming that we can actually predict the future, how do we go about doing it? Well, I think the answer lies in trends. There are a lot of well-known, what I call common sense trends out there. The world's population is growing. That's a common sense trend. The demand for energy is increasing. Another common sense trend. The cost of data storage is decreasing. Southeast Asia is becoming a more and more powerful area, economically speaking. And the cost of college is increasing. These are all common sense trends. I probably haven't told you anything you didn't know. However, barring some catalytic event like a thermonuclear war or a meteor strike, these events are like windows into the future. And most people, they don't look at windows. They kind of just walk right by them. However, what we need to do in order to predict the future is we need to stop and really glance out at them and think about it. Now, for every new piece of information we get, we need to ask ourselves, what are the implications of this? What does this mean? So what? And usually you'll find that there are two types of answers to these questions. One is the obvious. The obvious are the types of things that you get right away. They hit you in the face. They're the big things. And then there's the non-obvious, all right? The non-obvious are the things, they're very specific. And what's great about the non-obvious, well, I'll talk about what's bad about the obvious first. The obvious, everyone knows about it. So there's no edge to knowing the obvious. If you know that the Colts are going to win the Super Bowl tomorrow, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. If you know that they're going to win their next Sunday night game, and everyone else knows that they're going to win the next Sunday night game, then so what? You can't really do anything with that information. However, if you know that the Colts are going to win and no one else does, then that's pretty good. So the non-obvious are very, very, very important. And the key to predicting the future is to look at the non-obvious. So how do we actually go about doing that? Well, we have to keep asking ourselves, so what? So let's see here. I would like, this is kind of abstract, so I'd like to give you an example. Right now, a big area is autonomous vehicles. And what's kind of, for some background about autonomous vehicles, by 2035, it's expected that autonomous vehicles will be predominant on the streets. In fact, 8 car manufacturers have already demonstrated and claim that they're going to be selling autonomous vehicles. The likes of GM, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, Tesla, maybe even Apple. So, if we look at what does this mean, we have two things. We have the obvious, which is, okay, you can play with book a little more in the car, never have to drive. And there's a bunch of other things. Car crashes are less likely, presumably. And then we have the non-obvious. Now, the non-obvious is pretty important. And the crux of the non-obvious is that no one knows about it. So I'm going to give you some examples. Not only when people, okay, the majority of people who die, or a large portion of people who die in car accidents, are young people. And a large portion of them end up donating their organs. So if there's less car crashes, where are doctors going to get their organs? Pretty valid. Touchy subject, but it's true. So there's a bunch of other examples too that we have to think about. Right now, your main form of identification if you're an adult is your driver ID. But if you have an autonomous vehicle, why do you need a driver's license? You know, already people have a driver's license, they don't even have an autonomous vehicle. So it's kind of important because if no one gets the driver's license, then how are they going to pass through airport security? How are they going to go to R-rated movies? These are the important questions right now. And then there's another example that's pretty obscure. If you look at it, right now our urban areas are littered with parking spaces. And that's important because a lot of people commute in inner cities to urban areas. However, with autonomous vehicles, you don't need parking spaces. Because your autonomous vehicle can just go from wherever you are, travel 5 miles away, and then when you're ready, come back. There's no need to have demand instant parking. So, what do we do with all those parking spaces? Strip malls. They're ugly. No one likes strip malls. However, the real benefit of a strip mall is that you have all this parking space. Well, when you have autonomous vehicles, who's going to go to a strip mall? Or why would you? Why would stores be located in strip malls? They probably wouldn't. When you have autonomous vehicles and you have all this free parking space, what do civic planners do? Not quite sure. What happens to property values in urban areas? Well, if you don't need parking, you're going to have a lot more land. Does that mean that property values in urban cities are going to decrease? Sounds likely, but maybe not. Maybe there'll be more investment, more construction. So my point here isn't to say that I know all the answers, or that I know exactly how the future will turn out. My point here is to say that there are a lot of questions that we have to unearth. And sometimes the question is the most important part. However, by looking at these trends, by looking at information that we know, and by really thinking critically about them, we can figure out the questions, and from there, figure out the answers. Now, before I finish my talk, I'd like to note one more very important point. Foresight by itself is useless. What you need to do is you need to take that one step further. It goes from what does this mean to what can I do with this information. And in that respect, I encourage you all to ask, who will be the person who figures out what to do with government IDs or the lack of government IDs when you no longer need a driver's license? Who's going to be the civic planner who realizes, hey, we need a better way to transform this public space into something useful? Who's going to be the person that says, hey, Congress, we need to stop regulating stem cells, because if we don't, we're going to have an even greater shortage of organs. Or perhaps it'll be the person who creates a better way to synthesize organs. Whoever that person is, they'll need to go back into the past for information. They'll need to go into the present for intuition. And they'll need to go into the future for opportunity. Whoever that is,